Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for hanging out with us here on the Daily Racing Forum YouTube. I'm Gino Buccola alongside Ashley Mailloux with producer Bobby helping us out as we get you ready for a really fun edition of the Winning Colors on Monday over at Churchill Downs. Remember, Daily Racing Forum has the Memorial Day sale underway right now, all the way through Monday, 15% off when you use the coupon MEMD25. Monday racing at Santa Anita, Monday racing at Churchill Downs. Race 8 is going to be the Grade 3 Winning Colors, 6 furlong sprint for fillies and mares. And Ashley, just based on recent form, coming off of that really good effort in the Derby City Distaff, I think Hope Road is probably going to be the one that I'll have to beat in here. She's thrown up back-to-back 100 plus buyer speed figures. And what's been really impressive about her is she's actually shown us she can sit off the pace a little bit too. She's not necessarily like a one-dimensional need the lead type. She sat second last time she moved to the lead, and she finished second behind a very nice horse named Copian, who's probably at the top of the filly and mare sprint division with what she's done this year. So I think I kind of started this race with Hope Road.
Yeah, I think she's the starting point for a couple of reasons. Obviously, cutting back in distance should help her. You mentioned exits a Grade 1 event on Kentucky Derby weekend, which the waters were certainly deep there. And you mentioned Copian. I think the big thing also is good for her. She doesn't have to face Copian again.
Right.
Good on the past performances, 3 starts in a row, and she hasn't been able to beat her. So I think there's a lot to like. And I think the other thing to note is, she raced very well on an off track last time out. That's something you usually don't encounter out west and can be sort of a nuisance for some horses shipping east. But all in all, I think she ran her race.
Let's take a look at the Timeform US pace projector. There are some other talented fillies in here and some other fast horses too, like Miss Arlington's really quick to the outside, Too Sharp. She hasn't done a whole lot wrong in her career too. I guess if I were to say Hope Road gets beat, it's probably because she gets caught up early on and maybe she's a little too aggressive and gets hooked up in a pace battle with some of the others, like a very talented Too Sharp. But what makes it tough, as we were saying, she can sit off. Like if both Miss Arlington and Too Sharp want to go, I think Hope Road would be fine sitting third behind them.
I would agree with that. I think, in terms of trip, she can sit off of it. If they're not going fast for some reason and she wants to go to the front, she can. But the fractions are going to be quick here. I know Timeform doesn't say fast. It's going to be a fast run race in terms of those early splits. And just interesting to note, Gino, here, you see 2 LP flags. We don't see that all the time. We do see one on the 2 here, as well as the 8 into Champagne and then the 8's Mixed Palace, both of which could be rolling from off of it.
Let's meet the field here for the Winning Colors. This will be a $250,000 purse. A Grade 3 is going to go as race number 8 on Monday. Bright Work kicks things off here. And this was a talented filly early on in her career. She's a Grade 1 winner. We're taking a look at the most recent race, and this wasn't a bad effort, finishing third in the TCA, Ashley, behind Zietlos, who just came back and recently won the Skip It Stakes over at Pimlico. That 94 buyer speed figure is actually very comparable with some of the best horses in here, if that's a number she can kind of get back to and build off of. The issue is mainly for me, we've only seen her run a couple times over the last 18 months. I think she's only raced twice in the last 18 months or so, and now she draws the rail. I respect her ability. I've been a little more concerned recently because we haven't seen her on the track as much.
Yeah, it's a little, I guess, concerning in that regard. I guess the good thing is last time we saw her race off a long layoff, she was ready to roll. This layoff is obviously going to be shorter than that in terms of the time frame. And for her, she ran her best race off the layoff. Now, I wonder if she'll be ready to go here. I do think her workout tab is pretty telling. She's been working out fairly quick and steadily now with those works spaced about a week apart just about every time. Johnny V is going to climb aboard. I do think there's a lot to like about her. I'm curious to see how she will be bet, knowing the connections, knowing that we just mentioned Johnny V is going to climb aboard, and she does have a strong resume. Whether she's the same filly as a 4-year-old than she was a 2-year-old, she'll need to prove that on Monday.
Into Champagne is a filly who was very good as a 3-year-old last year, but she hasn't really been able to take that step forward as a 4-year-old. I liked her in the Hurricane Birdie. I gave her a shot there. And then particularly the most recent race, Ashley, in the second start back was the race where you're kind of expecting her to take that step forward. And she really didn't. She was sitting a pretty good trip. She sort of loomed up to second to challenge, and Easy Red just ran right by her that day. I had a tough time finding a legitimate excuse. And I have been a big fan of her. Could you make an excuse for her and give her a reason to maybe turn the tables on Easy Red and then step up and face even better here?
Yeah, it is tough when you're going to compare her to Easy Red. Easy Red ran an excellent race and sort of really stepped it up when she needed to. I think into Champagne, I'm not sure really what her running style is. I feel like earlier in her career, she wanted to chase the pace and make one move. And then you look at her race in the Hurricane Birdie, she was pretty far off of it. She only had one horse behind her early on, and she was able to roll up for third. And I thought she closed very nicely in there. I really respect the winner, Nick's style. So when I look at that, I wonder, what, she just too close to it last time at Keeneland? I don't know, because Easy Red, I think, got a comparable trip, a very good trip as well. So if you like her, you have to maybe try to come up with some excuse for the last out. And, I can sort of draw out some strings there and try to pull at them and try to figure out what it is. But I don't have a ton of confidence in her.
Benedetta comes into this race off of back-to-back races that were on off track. She was on a muddy track, then on a sloppy sealed track. If you go 3 starts back, she's a runner-up in the carousel behind Justique, and she does have a 95 Beyer speed figure that would be very comparable with these, but that was the one time she threw up a speed figure that high. Just looking at her overall body of work and the company she's faced, I still feel like she's a cut below. She was in that very same race with Hope Road, and she was 22-1 when she finished 8th. Maybe we can make the excuse that it was the slop, but I also feel like competition-wise, she hasn't quite faced a group like this. Can you make a case for Benedetta here?
She would be a tough sell, maybe the bottom of the exotics at most. I kind of agree with you. I just don't know if she's this caliber, and I think there are other fillies and mares that are getting better with each of their starts, and you could maybe read into it and say it was the wet track the last 2. I would say more recently, maybe it was not only just the class level, she was further back than she prefers. And I think that, considering the wet track, maybe worked against her. I think in the matron, I just think Holland Ice is a beast. Your richest female Arkansas bred horse of all time. She's gone on to win a grade 3 event in New York since the matron. Yeah, it's tough. I think she's going to get the trip where she's going to chase off a pace. She's going to try to mow them down. I just think that there are others that are going to have a better late turn of foot. And for me, she'd have to be a really big price in here to use in the bottom of the exotics.
I'm becoming a really big fan of the 4 Easy Red, Ashley. She was a horse who showed some ability early in her career for Doug O'Neill. And then when you kind of go race by race, you can make excuses for a couple of the races where she didn't really fire. One of them was on the turf. One of them was on synthetic. She had legitimate trouble that day. So she's off for a couple months. She shows actually for like 10 months. She shows back up in the Eddie Keneally barn. And in those 4 races for Keneally, she's won 3 of them. Her only loss came when she finished second, and she ran really well that day. And I think she's got a little versatility to her too. The loss also came when she was on the lead. She hasn't been running as well that way. I think she wants to sit back with the target and come running. This is a tough group, but I think if she's a horse that gets dismissed, or maybe she's a fair price, I could absolutely see her outrunning her odds in here. What do you think about Easy Red?
I think she's really intriguing, a horse that I think is a little bit of a must-use in the exotics, because she should be a decent price in here. She shouldn't be that short. And so you look at her effort at Keeneland last out, we talked about it in terms of the other horse in here, Into Champagne, isn't going to be anywhere to be found. And this filly is really running her best strides late in here. She's going to just draw clear by 2 lengths when it's all said and done. She's 2 for 2 at Churchill. I think she has a ton of upside. And you mentioned there's some races that you can just draw a line through, that being the Churchill race on the turf, the race at Turfway Park. And prior to that, she had some problems in the debutante at Ellis Park. So I don't know. To me, you can't also forget that she was 3rd to Brightwork early on in her career back in 2023. I just think she's kind of aging like a fine wine. She is getting better, and I have no knocks on her this year.
Harbor Springs is another one who's just in good form. She was a bit slow start. She was about 3 lengths off. She finished 3rd last time out behind Minx Palace. She did loom up on even terms, but Minx Palace just got a better trip and got the jump on her that day. Now, while she has won a couple times at 6 furlongs, Ashley, I just get the feeling that like 6.5 and 7 would probably be a little bit better with her based on her running style. What do you think about Harbor Springs in this spot, second start back off the short break?
I think Greg Foley has always been a little high on her. I remember talking with him early in his career down at the fairgrounds about her, and she seemed like she could have some upside, and she's gone on to do some really good things. I do think she's been a little bit better in those last few. You can see she's had some breaks, right? We haven't seen her in consistent starts, so I think it's positive to see her now second start in a month, right? Month to month, April 26th to May 26th. I think she ran well last time out. And I would agree with you. I'd like to see her go just a tad longer. I don't know necessarily if she's a mile horse necessarily, but I agree with you. 6.5 or 7 might be more within her wheelhouse. But again, if there's some pace early, that there's, blitzing on the front end, she could roll late.
Absolutely. She is a major player in here again, just needs a little bit of the setup. Miss Arlington is fast early on, but she just feels like she's a cut below this group. I mean, you compare her last race. She was in the carousel. She was 60-1 in that race behind Benedetta. We were kind of talking about Benedetta as being a horse that we couldn't really make a case for. So just kind of using that form, I think she's a little up against it in here.
There's that sort of common horse, right? There's the fact that Zeitlos was way better in that event where this one was 6th all the way back in May of 2024. And sure, that's a year ago. It's just that she hasn't done a lot that I've liked since then. I thought her race at Mahoning was good, but I think it's because she was the controlling speed in there. And I don't think that's going to be the case in this event, which works against her.
Hope Road is the 7. She just feels like the horse to beat. I mean, you go through her entire career. She's raced 10 times. She's been in the exacta in 8 of them. One of the races when she didn't fire was in the Del Mar Debutante, and the other she finished 4th in a very tough La Brea. So just not a whole lot to knock overall in her career, Ashley. And they seems like they figured her out, that she's been very good sprinting, going 7 furlongs. Most recently, she cuts back to 6 furlongs. That shouldn't be a problem because she has natural early speed. She can sit. So like a lot of the things I would try to poke holes in a favorite, I just can't really poke the holes in her. And she's going to make her second start back off a short break. She seems like she's, as a 4-year-old, kind of moving and developing well right now. Just a lot of positives, except for the price.
Price is going to be really short. We both know that. Even handicapping this without the line, she's going to go off favored. I just think the cutback, I think, another try at Churchill, hopefully over different track conditions. I don't even know if that matters, but I think that's going to help her. She doesn't have to face Copian. And as you talked about, she's tactical. She can go to the front. She can sit the trip. And just an interesting thing here, when you looked at the way this race came up, Florent Giroux has the call. And I think that's a little interesting to see him riding for Bob Baffert. Gino, you have to go all the way back to, I think, the summer months of 2022 to see the last time that this duo got together. But they had a lot of success back in 22, back in 21. And I think Florent, in terms of how he'll fit this filly, especially at Churchill, again, should be another good duo.
Minx Palace, it comes off of a win last time out. She loves Churchill Downs. She's won all 4 of her career races in 6 starts at Churchill. She's raced 9 times overall. What's really nice about her, Ashley, is the running style that she has and how she can sit, because she has natural early speed, but then she can kind of park herself just behind the leaders. And that's what she did last time out, where she was naturally up close with the group that wanted to go forward. And then she just sort of sat to the outside. And when some of those horses towards the front end stopped, she kind of got the jump on Harbor Springs. And that's what she seems to me. She's like a real trip horse who can sit nicely, makes her second start off of a short break. Again, she feels like a player in here. Is she as good as Hope Road? No, not necessarily. She's going to need to improve, but she's the type of horse who could get a really good trip. And if Hope Road didn't show up with that A-game effort, I think she'd be pretty competitive with a lot of the others in here.
I think so too. I do think there are a couple of races when you go back to either April 26th at Churchill or September 15th. Those are the races that really make her a competitor in terms of the way that she's been able to do it, the trips that she's gotten. I think her figures are competitive enough. I know an 85 doesn't necessarily jump off the page, but I think looking at the fact that she beat Harbor Springs and raced so well, that tells a little bit of a different story. It just, for me, depends which version of her is going to show up, right? I think she has some inconsistencies. There are races where if she sort of doesn't get that triple length or 2 off of it and she's further back, I don't think she can really pass horses the way that she can if she's close enough to the fractions.
What I think made me sort of lean towards Hope Road even more in this race, Ashley, as we round out the group, is that I think her major contender and her main rival is Too Sharp, and Too Sharp is coming off the bench and probably will need a race for her best. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Too Sharp show up with a really good effort and maybe even beat a horse like Hope Road. But when I'm looking at this race, and Hope Road has the advantage of a recent race, and you look at the filly like Too Sharp, who hasn't raced since November, that's kind of why I thought the favorite would be pretty tough in here. But looking at Too Sharp, she's run 5 times in her career. She's never been worse than third. Her last 4 races in a row are really good. One of them was a loss by a neck in the Grade 3 Prioress to Brightwork. And since then, she's had back-to-back very easy, very impressive wins. And she was able to stretch her speed all the way out to a mile. So it's a good starting point for her. I think she's a talented filly. I just feel like she's probably a tad behind another talented filly in this race who just has some recency on her.
She's extremely talented, but you mentioned Gino. She does have to roll off the layoff, never been worse than second, and she almost beat Brightwork. She was very game in the prior 3 starts back. I really, really admire her. I like her resume. She has early speed. I'm still not convinced she needs the lead to win, even though when she was runner-up on debut, or when she comes up a little bit short 3 starts back, she does not need to be the pace setter. I think she draws the outside in here, and you're not going to change anything, though. You're going to go, and you're going to see what the horses to your inside do. She may need a race. I think she's a must-use, at least somewhere on your tickets. But for me, top spot, I have to go elsewhere.
Yeah, and as we move to selections, like if Hope Road gets hammered at the windows, I could play Too Sharp off the bench for sure, because I know she's got enough ability. It just comes down to value. And as you were pointing out, I like the outside draw for her too, because she can sit off a little bit if she has to, I think, given the outside draw. So I'm going to use the 7 on top, and I always got to give a nod to my Nanu with the 7-4 numbers. Those were his exacta numbers that he would box up. And he would like this one because if it was a very chalky horse, he would love to have them in the mix too. He loved to play the favorites there. So 7-4-9-8 for me, Ashley. But tell us your selections before we finish up here.
I mean, we have the same thought process. I mean, Hope Road is the filly to beat. And I think it comes down to trip. She's tactical. She's coming out of a tough race. She doesn't have to face Copia. And I think it's it is what it is, and not really being creative here. I think when we look at her underneath here, we see things pretty similarly in terms of we like the 4 and the 9. I'll use Brightwork. I still think she's very talented, especially with the competition that she faced last time out. But I think the key horse, if the horse offers value, is the 4 Easy Red. She's a filly that I think is blooming. We really don't know what we're dealing with. And if you get value on her, I wouldn't be scared to throw her in the exotics.
Yeah, we both have her in the mix. So we'd love to hear from you. And we want to give everybody a big thank you, because over the last few weeks and few months, we've been getting some really great support on the YouTube channel. So if you are not subscribed, make sure you do so. Throw a thumbs up. And anytime you're watching these videos, comment, leave a selection. We always love to hear from you. Or if you have any questions, we'll do our best to try to answer them for you. So subscribe below, and we wish you the best of luck on Monday.